Hello, everyone. How are you guys today? Um, Hope you're doing fine. I'm doing fine myself. So yeah, let's get to it. We're going to talk about strings. Um, it's actually a very essential family of instruments in the orchestra. So basically, the strings defines what the orchestra is, along with other instruments, family of instruments such as brass, woodwinds, percussion, so forth. But if you look at an orchestra, like the first thing you're going to see in front of you are the string players. So yeah, that's why strings are very vital in the orchestra. And I personally love writing for strings. It takes some time to get used to this, to how the in get to know how the instrument works, and then how to make the parts as proper as possible, as enjoyable as possible for the players. Because when you're writing for orchestra, for strings, especially, you want to get your players to have fun with the parts. And if you have happy players, then you basically get a good reputation of you as arranger or composer. So yeah, there's a fun aspect to it, but there's also a mechanical aspect of it, which is pretty important to to know if you're writing string parts. So just a little sound check. So I'm just gonna play this piece of music that I actually wrote for a kids game, a local kids game, Indonesian company that I worked for. I basically made this BGM for them. Yeah, let's get to it. You can you hear my voice clearly? Please let me know in the chat, and I'm gonna play this piece of music while we're at it, and let me know if it sounds good to you. Okay. Cool. It seems that everybody's good with the audio coming from the sequencer. Yeah, so this piece of music actually is for one of the levels in the game I mentioned before, in the kids game I worked on. There's this island, like not an island, like very wintry, cold setting in that island with a polar bear in it, like as the main character, and like this the children would learn how to draw and like connect the dots and stuff. And then I made this soothing music. I think the temp track was something from Chrono Cross or something. I don't remember exactly what the temp track was, but some kind of RPG game that has this kind of sound, but not as realistic, because back then they use um, samples that are not, you know, these days samples are pretty close to the real thing. But back then they would use something like, you know, the old ROM synthesizers like Roland JV 1080 or something. But anyway, this is how I laid out the composition. So we basically have a very, very basic string arrangement. So we have a quintet, that means five players. We have first violins, you can see here labeled violin 1, that's for violin 1. Then violin 2, the same thing, but they accompany the first violins. And then a viola, that's the third player. The fourth player is the cello, or violoncello, that's the full name of the cello. And that's why we name it VC in here. And that's the pizzicato track I put in a separate track. And the contrabass, it's like the biggest instrument in the family, or also known as contrabass. Double bass, contrabass, those are the same thing. Cool. So basically, each of the instruments has their own ranges and limits of the notes that they can play. Violins have their lowest note on a G. That's G3. If you can see here, I have the instruments loaded up here on Contact. This is Spitfire chamber strings. My favorite string libraries of all time, I guess. So the violins has G3 as its lowest note. And if you can hear that, that's their lowest note. And then the second violins, that's the same for the second violins as well. And the violas has the lower C, like C3. That's their lowest note. And then the cello has a C 1 octave below the lowest note of the viola. And then we have the contrabass, which can extend to like the lowest E right here. I don't know if you're familiar with choirs, but basically if you were on a choir, you would be separated based on your range. So for example, the females would fall into the sopranos and alto category, and the males would fall in the tenors and bass category. So each of them has different ranges depending on how high or how low they can be, and they built up together to form like ensemble. Like they form chords, they form like contrapuntal parts and so forth to make a harmony and ensemble basically. Yeah. So from what this is my usual method in terms of string writing. So I would have these set up, the quintet set up, and yeah. So basically, I would sketch something on the piano, or like on top of, other than sketching on the piano, because that's what pretty much composers would do. I would have a ensemble patch loaded up. So each of these instruments that I mentioned, they only span, the ranges only span on the ranges of the real instrument. So for example, you cannot go lower than this G in violin 1. Otherwise you don't have anything. So this is the lowest that you can get on a violin. But in an ensemble patch, you get everything spread across the keyboard, so I can play whatever I want. So if I can load up a ensemble patch, like it's basically those 5 separate instruments, but it's spread across the keyboard. So if we open that now, let's get a ensemble patch and spiccato, for example. A spiccato, to make it more interesting, I'm gonna do a spiccato patch instead of a long one because it sounds so dramatic. It's probably too loud. Yeah, I would other than having a piano patch, I would have this kind of patch and then like write along chords and rhythmic figures and so forth, like as I would on a piano. And then later on, from those collection of notes, I would split those notes up into separate parts. So, for example, I would have the melody. In this case, the melodies on the violins, the harmonies on the violin two, and viola, and then the rhythmic bass parts on the cello and contrabass. Cool. So yeah, I would play something like. And then have the melody on top of it. And then once I have that all together, I would split it up, as I mentioned earlier. Usual stuff. And for this case, I actually came up with a rhythmic idea first in this part. So you can see it, how the violin two and viola kind of complement each other in terms of rhythm. So you can, without even hearing, you can actually see how the lines, how the MIDI notes form together. They kind of form some kind of pattern here. So you can tell it's like something constant, which kind of drives the rhythm of the overall piece. And we got the first violins playing the melody line here. You can see like how the line kind of connect to each other, you know? So if we isolate this part, you can actually hear that the violin and the viola kind of communicate each other to form some kind of a rhythmic basis. We're gonna just loop that 4 bars first. Then we got something on the bass to back that up, to give it like a pulse, you know? I mean, violin 2 and in the second violin and the viola, we kind of feel that pulse already there, but I'm gonna reaffirm that pulse with the cellos and basses right here. Very basic, you know, Lego like stuff. So when you build something up, you would build the foundation first, and then you build on top of it. This is how it sounds with the cello and contrabass together. And it's actually better this way in terms of writing or strings, because if you were to write it like in a keyboard, like a full ensemble patch, well, I used the ensemble patch solely just for sketching, but later on I would split the parts into individual instruments. But if you were to just, you know, play as much as notes or chords as you want, then, and if you were to translate that into the real string players, it would be hard for them, or it would be, you know, you would end up with cluttered voicings and something that would, you know, and something that make your arrangement sound muddy or cluttered. You don't want that, especially when you want to build stuff on top of that. So here it is, just simply 4 voice. And we later on will add the melody line by the violins. It's pretty simple actually, when you think about it. And that's for the A part. And then for the B part, we have the cellos playing the melody here. we still have that pulsating thing, but instead of having the cello play that, we have the contrabass playing that, because the cello is playing. It's the cello's turn to play the melody, so it would be pretty insane to have one player to play both parts. So I have to separate that. So the cellos in this case only play the melody. And then when we add the violins here, the violin isn't actually playing the same pattern as we saw earlier, but they play some kind of counter line, which kind of responds to the melody line of the cello. If you hear what the violin 2 sounds like. Yeah, string arranging is all about how well you distribute parts, distribute voices, and how well you can manage it so it doesn't sound cluttered. It doesn't sound too thin, or it doesn't sound too cluttered. But the most important thing is you don't want to have your string section sound cluttered. That's I think personally, the number one rule in string arranging. And then when we got to this part, the viola kind of harmonize on top of the second violin line here. See, only 4 voices. And yet you get this kind of wide sound, you know? And then when we get to the big part here, just gonna loop that part. Okay, 1 second. I'm just gonna move this flag here. Pardon, I'm using a battery mouse, and I think it's running out of battery a little bit. It's kind of fuzzy at times, but that's okay. Okay, where were we? So yeah, the melody now is represented by the violins now, harmonized by the violin 2, and then the viola kind of gave us this. I think it's harmonizing the violin. Yeah, and then the the cello now give us some kind of backing to the whole thing, to the whole melody line, whilst the pulse still kept by the contrabass. We don't have like more than one instrument to do the the rhythmic part on the contrabass here. If we were to do that, it'll be cluttered for sure. So yeah, it's very, very easy to get things cluttered in the low register. Here's what I want to say. So let's turn on this ensemble patch for a second. So if you have like basically in a nutshell, if you stack a lot of notes in the low end, you will end up with this, pretty muddy sound and cluttered. Unless if that's you're going for in terms of dramatic purposes, then that's fine. But for like long notes like that, or like very delicate sounding music like this, it certainly won't work. Let's do something that I can demonstrate better with the long ones. Yeah, this is what happens if you stack a lot of notes in the low end. But if you spread it across, get this very grand sound, which is way more pleasant to hear. So yeah, don't if you're doing this kind of music, just very very be very very careful with your lows, because I remember this one guy talking to asking me for suggestions. He has this arrangement that he mix, and then he wondered why it sounds so cluttered. I quickly can point out that there are a lot of elements happening in his low end. So one rough example is what I just played. So a lot of things in the low end. So this guy produced, I think, EDM. I won't name. In fact, I don't remember his name. It's been a long time ago, but this very conversation actually brought a good idea on what I'm showing you guys right now. So be very very careful with your low end, or else mixing or EQing won't help with the mud. That's for sure. So yeah. Okay. Do you want to hear the whole thing? It's just a very short 1-minute loop, though. I actually enjoy this. I think this is one of my favorites in the game OST I made. Cool. Okay, I think I'm gonna read the comments. Yeah, I always have separated bass for choirs. Yeah, that's I think it's one way to organize things in terms of register. Time to save up for fire chamber strings. Yeah, I got the library actually from a student discount. When I was a student, I got a 50% discount. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to buy it. Cool spiccato line makes sense. I see. Somehow, I often layer melody on violin 1 and 2 to make it more fat. Is that a bad thing? You can stack violin 1 and 2 in terms of octaves. That's a very very common technique. And also you can do harmonies, and you can do unisons. It depends on what kind of image of overall tone you want to convey with your strings. For example, if you want a very very big sound, you obviously can do, or you can do 6. You can do harmonies and so forth. It depends on what chord do you want to outline in that arrangement. Oh, that's why making chord on the low end, like C0 on a piano 2, sounds so bad. Yeah, like it's so low that the frequencies kind of rumble each other. I don't know if there's a scientific explanation on that, but it sounds so grumbled in the low end when you stack things compared to, like, I play the same thing but octaves lower. It sounds horrible in the lows, unless if you're going for a specific dramatic direction. In terms of intervals on the low end, you would avoid third seconds, I guess, right? Anything else? Yeah, I think you can check it on the internet. There's this thing called the very topic I'm talking about. It's about the low limit interval. So it tells you like what intervals you should not go lower. So like I think there's seconds in this. You can do seconds, but on like E and F, on the lower than middle C, but you cannot go lower than that. Otherwise, it'll sound garbage, or less. It would you know, it would be wrong. It would violate the low limit interval. That's what I was trying to say. Yeah, low limit intervals. You can definitely check. There's a bunch of, things on that. I'm sure that's the very first thing, like the chart of what intervals and what notes you should avoid going from, in terms of low limit intervals. Cool. So, yeah, I think that's for this thing. Okay. In terms of programming it though, I would always have these legato performance patches. Devil tried on cello. Yeah. So basically, legato is like connecting notes, one note to each other, creating this smooth transitions from note to note. And that means this is the beauty of the instrument. So naturally, you don't want to get more than two voices in each instrument, meaning that you would distribute one note to each player, unless if you're going for like double stops or triple stops. But I think quadruple stops, triple stops is very, very rare. By stops, I mean the amount of strings that you play, because every of these instruments only have 4 strings. Punten, selamat pagi semuanya. Hello. There's this Indonesian person right here. Oh, that is legato sound. I thought it is a separate glissando sound. Well, this has a glissando. Like portamento, you would glide the note from one note to another. It's basically how they treat the transition of going from one note to another. That's what the patch actually does, and it tracks like what articulation the instrument would give based on your playing. So if I play normally, it will connect the notes smoothly, but if we like play the target note in lower velocity, you will get this nice glide. Yeah, that's the strings right there. And also to control the dynamics here, can you see the screen here? This thing wobbling. It goes boing boing. This is the modulation wheel. So it's like if you have a keyboard and you have these two wheels on the very left, it actually does something. Uh, well, usually in like ordinary keyboards, it'll add vibrato or LFO, which kind of make the sound wobbly, like wow 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 wow. But this actually gives you expression and volume. Oh. Not pitch bend. This is modulation. Pitch bend, it doesn't do anything here, but as the name implies, normally it would serve to bend the pitch by certain amount of tones. Hey, will the stream be saved? Most likely. Do you use a separate expressive controller? I see Christian. Oh, somebody's doing their homework there. I see Christian Henson use a controller for expression and dynamics. No, I don't use anything separate other than the mod wheel. But in terms of expression, so you can see the dynamics slider kind of moves as I move my mod wheel. But typically what I know from Christian Henson, he would use another fader to control the expression, which is like the overall volume, to give it more control over the sound. But I rarely do that. I think with mod wheel, it's actually enough. It's actually enough to use the mod wheel, and I mean it's you would have better control with expression, but yeah, dynamics alone really speaks for itself. If I ever want to do expression, like if I really have to, I would just draw it in the MIDI editor. Yeah, so there's that. And the same goes for the cellos and the other instruments. I'm just gonna do a cello here. Just gonna make it a little bit louder. I'm getting in the mood. It sounds so expressive. Bach reference. Yeah. Yeah, I like Bach cello suite. It's very expressive kind of piece of music. That is true though, we can just draw it. Kita pakai lagu Identity. Iya, tadi pakai lagu Identity. Dikit-dikit. Cool. So, yeah, that's what I basically do in terms of general, very, very general and basic string arranging. Then we get. Oh yeah, I think it's great idea to talk about articulations, like what the strings have in store. Obviously, you'll play strings with your bow, and that's what generally what I have here in the project. But I also have pizzicato, which means plucking our strings instead of bowing them. So I have a pizzicato part here throughout the song, especially in the contrabass and the pizzicato in this piece, to give some kind of rhythmic color to it. Okay, my blue keyboard's not working, but now it's working. Cool. So you get this percussive kind of sound with pizzicato instead of having it playing with the bow. If you were to play it in the bow, it would sound like you wouldn't get that a strong attack like we have with the pizzicato. But if you're going with that direction, then that's also fine. But in this case, I want to have this round kind of attack with the pizzicato. So. Okay. Let's actually open another BGM from the kids game I worked on, which also have similar string arrangement, but with a larger orchestra. I involve the woodwinds, brass, and percussion in that one. So I'm just gonna open that project, and I'm just gonna ask you to wait for a bit for me to load the project. I'll be back in a sec. you can hear my voice, right? Yeah, you can always revert back to the. I put the stream so you can rewind. So if you're here late, then you can always go back. And I think I'm gonna archive the stream. Okay, it's loading now. I think it would take a while. Okay, I don't know if you can see this. Yo, Kagi, hello. Nice to see you here. Okay, so now we cannot see the screen. I'm just gonna fix something so you can see. Okay, please bear with me. I restarted Cubase, that's why. Display capture, no. Okay, what's happening? Dun, da, dun, da, da, dun, da, da. To window, manual, to window. Okay, there you go. Okay, can you see the screen now? Okay, should be good. Oh, this is the wrong file, I think. Oh, but that's okay. This is what I would do if I were too lazy. I would have like an ensemble patch and just like spiccato and play patterns. Okay, I think I have to disable some of the master effects so the latency won't be that bad. There are a lot of them. Okay, and then if we play the this is what I would do if I were lazy. I would just have like one single track for strings. And this is a very simple piece. Can you hear it? Okay, it's missing a piano part. It's not using a library that I don't have. This is from the old computer, so I have to reload it with something different. Maybe Alicia's keys. So we're gonna do it from the beginning. Shouldn't sound like that. Well, basically, I only have two string tracks. This is this cello pizzicato, which serves as a bass, and this is the short CS. CS stands for concertino. So I think I'm gonna explain articulations as we go along. So CS stands for concertino, which means you would put a mute on the violin or on the strings, on the instrument. So it'll actually dampen the sound a little bit, make the sound a little bit darker, which kind of works with this kind of things, because we're highlighting the clarinet as the lead instrument. You don't want to get the strings in the way. So that's why. And also I kind of limit myself not using too much notes for the chords, because I want to keep things as realistic as possible, but also saving time. That actually explains why I only have two string instruments in this project. So I only limit my voicings into like maximum four for voices, as you can see here. Okay, my mouse is acting up. There you go. I think I should replace a new battery for my wireless mouse soon. Okay, so let's open one other orchestra. This is not the project I meant to open, so I'm just gonna search to my drive a little bit. Just gonna change to my webcam and see what I have in store. Oh, by the way, how are you guys? You guys doing okay? I hope you guys doing great. I think this is the oh, that's the kindergarten music, not the playgroup music. Should copy that to my hard drive. I have my archive drive here, so just gonna copy that real quick. While I'm copying, we can do a little bit of chat, perhaps. Who are in here haven't listened to Identity Voices yet? You should listen to. It's been on Spotify, Apple Music, and stuff. So it's a song I produced for Hololive Indonesia. It's a VTuber group, VTuber collective from Cover Corp. I feel really, really lucky to be able to work on that. Countless memes throughout the process of making the song, as you would know. Yeah, Identity Voices by Hololive Indonesia. And you would put there's a double dot between ID and entity. So it's actually a wordplay on ID, entity, and Indonesia. Like the code ID is actually internet code for Indonesia. So yeah. Once I heard you produce song for Holo ID, I was like, thank you, banger. Thank you, Kagi. It means a lot coming from you. Identity Rickroll. Okay, my thought on that. Pamomi's video. I actually don't find it as funny. There, sure. It seems that this person actually trying so hard to rickroll us, but once the song kind of shifted the chords to something else, and then the rickroll thing doesn't really follow. So yeah. I actually don't really find it as funny. Judulnya bagus dan kreatif. Yeah, thank you. Love your work there. Thank you. Here's the banger if anyone looking. Do you also play violin? I used to play the violin. I used to take violin lessons. So back then when I was still learning piano, we had like a music theory part of it, and then when you pass certain level in the music theory class, you would declare your minor instrument, your second instrument. So it's like having a second language if you're learning language. Like for me, English is my second language. My first language is Indonesian. So like violin, it was my second instrument, or my minor instrument. I haven't been playing it for years. It's been 12 years since I played the violin, I guess. After 2 years of minor instrument, that violin thing, I kind of stopped learning violin. I think the last time was my 6th grade or 5th grade. It's been a long time. Love the tune 18 Power Dangdut, yeah. Hey, I used to play the viola. I was commissioned to play because I hit a girl with timpani stick. I can play the triangle. Oh, cool. I also can play triangle, but I cannot play the recorder, the flute recorder. I cannot play it. Just the same 2 5 3 6. Yeah, tons of songs use that progression, and Rick Roll definitely used that progression as well. Halo, halo Kit Kat, Felitis Cactus. Wow, lama sekali. Iya, udah lama banget gak belajar biola. Oke, tadi mau ngapain ya? Kita mau copy. I'm gonna copy this file. I want to show you guys. I can I cannot sing. The only thing I have to sing is when I provide guide vocals to vocalists. For example, like harmonies, or if the vocalist didn't have enough time to provide like oohs or ahs, I would do that. Nunggu copy archive ke hard disk. Oh, sorry, I wasn't doing that. I'm just gonna do that now. Mana ya? It's been a while since I work on this. Oh, bukan di sini. Di sini. You know what? The more organized you are, the more stuff you have, and the more organized you are, the slower you would find things. You would dive in things. Okay, and also this mouse isn't really cooperating with me, but I enjoy the talk, guys. TK menggambar, oke. TK ya, sama. Oke, boleh ini. Projects. Gak ada yang kita masukin ke sini. Ganti aja baterai ya. Di sini malam masalahnya. And I don't have a car. Any DAW would recommend for music production. Any DAW would work. I mean, I use Cubase myself because I'm very used to it. But anything would work. Reaper, FL Studio, and Ableton. I think Ableton really works best if you're doing electronic music or like loop-based music, because I have this kind of like performance view where you can have cells of musical phrases that you can put your ideas on, and like mix and match between clips and stuff. Yeah, let's open this thing and see if my computer dies. Okay, it doesn't die. Okay, cool, it doesn't die. Okay, I'm just gonna activate this track. Dewa Kipas. Ini siapa sih Dewa Kipas? Erikson ya? Main catur. Gak bisa main catur gue. Halo Dewa Kipas. Okay, it's loaded. I think I can see this. Okay. Can you see it? It's all in purple. Okay, it's actually really a good idea to color code your instruments. So for example, I have the strings in purple, the brass in somewhat orange, and the woodwinds on green. I haven't made a like really proper orchestral instrument because I just switched into a more powerful computer with 64 gigs of RAM. I used to have 16 gigs in my old laptop, and I can barely load a template on that, so I have to start completely from scratch. But now I just need to find a time to actually make my template. An orchestral template basically have a set of instruments on an empty project. So when you open, for example, an orchestral template, you have all your instruments loaded up on RAM or streamed to a hard drive if your computer is fast enough. and then like start composing from there, and you don't really have to think what instruments you would have to add because all the instruments are there in your disposal. Okay, since we're here, just gonna make sure that I disable all the master effects so we don't get glitches, just in case. And then, okay, this is taking too long. I'm sorry, guys, but I enjoy talking though. It's nice. Cool. Let's play back this thing. Oh, that's loud. That's basically it. So the game that I worked on actually had like 3 levels: playgroup, kindergarten, and elementary school. And this is like the kindergarten theme, in the drawing level. They were going for a Willy Wonka kind of hype, kind of feel. I mean. Okay, I would have to see the comments, what they have in store. Okay. Anything will work, but I think Reaper is extremely powerful for a new producer. It's really affordable. You pay when you can, to be honest. And the full license comes for $60, and for earning people less than 20K. Yeah. I've heard a lot of good things about Reaper, and a lot of actually bad things recently about Pro Tools, despite Pro Tools being the industry standard. Because like all the big studios are using it, but when you see Pro Tools compared to something like Reaper, it's a no-brainer actually. Yeah, like Pro Tools, they would charge you like monthly or for a subscription. It's like you would have to spend a lot of money on that just for a DAW that isn't that reliable in my opinion. I mostly use Studio One, 5, and Ableton. I see a lot of people use Cubase and was thinking of if it's worth the move from Studio One to Cubase. If I know a lot of people, or some people, who moved from Cubase to Studio One, and like the interface isn't that different, and the key commands are really, really similar, and the concept on Studio One is really, really similar to Cubase. I mean, Studio One actually was the one of the developers was a guy that used to work on Nuendo and Cubase, so you get to really see how the idea kind of similar on both two. And I heard that this particular developer moved on to East West to make the Hollywood Orchestra Opus Edition, like their revamped player for the East West libraries. Seperti kartu tanda anak. Yeah. In this case, the theme on this song is Willy Wonka kind of candy kind of theme vibe, you know. This is lovely. Thank you. Or just happy theme. Thank you. Beautiful as always. Thank you, Ali. 5 animasi kartun. Wait, I just joined. What's the woodwind library? I play clarinet, and that library sounds better than real life. The library I use for the woodwinds is Vienna Instruments. Okay, wait. It's like the very basic the very basic special edition library. Okay, enough of that. Just gonna move on to the strings because that's what we were here for. So basically, yeah, I mentioned about the violin, the strings. Not you don't have to use your bow all the time to make different kinds of articulations. And here I have the pizzicato, which means plucking the strings. So if we solo that part. So this pizzicato is basically playing the melody with like closed harmony. Yeah, all the strings that you're hearing now is from Spitfire chamber strings. It kind of took me a while to figure out the harmony, but I got the melody right away. But after that, I had to like play the harmonies here. So at first, I would make the melody first, record the melody first, and then play the harmony below separately. Because there's no way I can play that quick. And then you might ask, what would drive the rhythm? Since we have the piano and there's drums, and we just use the piano to like give it a rhythmic pulse. And we'll add the brush drums. After this part, we have this transition going to the B part with the legato. Let's not solo that. And I also have the trills right here. It's basically trills are basically playing two notes in a rapid fashion, like. You would hear that in a lot of Simpson scores, animation scores, and so forth, to give excitement, you know? Is the piano Garrison? Damn, that sounds so sweet. No, it's, I think it was Grandeur or Alicia's Keys, I forgot. Yeah, it's the Grandeur from the Complete. I think I got too lazy, and then I ended up wrote this legato line instead of like, you know, making the string part more active. But I mean, the game itself restricts me from doing things that are distracting to the kids, so I cannot do very, very exciting things, because otherwise it would ruin the learning experience of the kids. So maybe I should sell my clarinet by Vienna. If this was instrumental, like a concert piece, I would do way more than this. But I just got lazy and the game happened to be calming, and the game doesn't really permit a lot of exciting sounds. Okay, let's do another one. Just gonna switch to the webcam one more time. Okay, I think we have... It's pretty much the same thing. Let's do the stream intro music I played you earlier. I think it was the main menu, like their new main menu. Just they requested me to do a new menu music because they're updating stuff. It's actually exciting because when I asked them like whether I can share this kind of thing on YouTube, and they said, yeah, sure, because I mean the game's already published and I'm just basically doing music for the updates, so it's not really a secret thing anymore. So they're like, okay, fine. What CC usually you control with automation? CC. Expression? I mean, a lot of times I would sequence it. I would record myself doing modulation. But since I don't want to bother setting up MIDI controllers, and if I really have to, I would draw it in the MIDI editor. So okay, I think this is the main menu music I just played you in the very first stream, the intro music. You see, like a lot of stuff are modulation. Is working on a Mac for music production really is better than working on Windows? I've experienced both, and I think I have less complaints with a Mac. Yeah, I mean, some other people have different experiences, but in my own experience, I have less issues using a Mac than using a Windows PC. I mean, for PC you can get way better specs for less the price, but I don't know. I prioritize stability first when it comes to work like this. That's the answer to your question. But I think both platforms, if you know what you're doing, as long as you know what you're doing, it's going to be fine. that's the main menu music I just did. Farhan, would this be archived? Yeah, most likely. Dude, I swear of God, I am having Hamuzu Masashi vibes on this one. Yeah, the temp track for this was Octopath or something, like some kind of RPG game I never played before, but I actually, when they gave me the temp track, I actually liked the music, so I found it very, very enjoyable to do this one. So unlike the previous approaches that you saw in my previous projects that I showed you, this one's I actually started this from scratch because I actually started this project on my new computer, my new PC, and I didn't have my templates yet. In fact, I never had a proper template. So you see things like string accompaniment, and then these strings, they're actually ensemble patches, but having different MIDI channels, and not like separated or split it to like individual string instruments. Yeah, this is Kagi. How's your guitar process going? I swear to. Yeah, so basically I did this project from scratch. Yeah, so I have the strings here, which is basically the ensemble patch. Primarily I'm using the Pizzicato to drive the rhythm. Keeping the voices as close as possible to give this intimate feel, but as well as keeping within the range of the accompaniment. So loop that part, keep it as condensed on the first one, and then it'll expand in the next part. And then the cello kind of take over the melody. Where's the cello? Because I didn't use a template for this. Mana ya? Is this one of your project? Kayak pernah dengar? Yeah, I shared this on this thing on Twitter. Mana ya? Where's cellos? There you go. It's way on the bottom. Ohayo, Epion-san. Ohayo. And also, to make things more merrier, there's also piano and recorder. Any tips for voicing chords on a string arrangement? Yeah, as I mentioned, avoid having cluttered voices. Just keep as contained as possible. Avoid having, cluttered voices, like I just mentioned in the first part of the stream. So if you have like low octaves, not low octave, but if you have a bunch of notes on the low register, it'll quickly clog up your mix. Because a lot of some people actually ask me like why they mix sound muddy. Is because their arrangement is muddy, not their mix is muddy. You cannot save a muddy arrangement on the mix. You cannot EQ that, it'll sound muddy. And then like having separate parts. So like for example, you would have certain part doing the rhythmic part, but you also have the top violins on doing the melody, the very bottom contrabass on the bass. Be wise in terms of your management. Part management. Also, take note, we have the woodwinds actually doing a counter line to the melody. Gotta go. Thanks for the stream. Bye-bye. Thanks for coming to the stream. And then we shift moods. Instead of having the spiccatos, we shift to pits. Some people actually pointed out this part where I have the percussion played together with the other instruments. So yeah, I have pretty large voicing here. So let's just assume that half of the violin ones is a divisi, meaning that they would split the parts. Like half of the strings, the violin section would play different parts, creating this very, very massive sound. We have the flute trills for like happy, cheerful. It's like I said, it's important to distribute your parts evenly. So, as you might guess, I have a piano here, but the piano isn't playing like the whole. It doesn't play spread voicing and stuff. You just play like a C major 9 chord on the very top to give that percussive tick, percussive attack. In conjunction with the xylophone. I really enjoy writing this one, so I'm just gonna loop it. Also, dynamics, important to have. And also play this in a keyboard and not like, I actually avoid having to draw on the piano roll like this. So it would have something to record on, like modulation, how I interpret the dynamics, and timing. I don't play like 100% quantized. That's important when it comes to orchestral sequencing. So, because a lot of times when I hear people sequencing orchestral music, they tend to, draw the notes. They actually, if they want to go for realism, they should spend their time researching on the instrument and try to think as if you're that player, and like try to replicate that onto the keyboard, and that's actually the quickest way to get your ideas on. Like the amount of time drawing these notes and these continuous controller data. I also have the choirs here outlined in chord. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, just feel free. It's Friday night here, so I'm pretty much free. So if you have any question about things, just drop it in the chat. I'll be more than happy to discuss it with you. Or actually, I'm just gonna open a new project and do a blank project. Just like pull up instruments that you might be interested in. I got nostalgic of Zelda from that Pizzicato part. Yeah, people when they hear pizzicatos, they would associate that to game music, either game music, comedy shows, or children's shows, because it really gives it this lighthearted feel, and that's effective actually. I don't know why I always, since I got Keyscape, I feel like playing Keyscape is like is as fun as playing a new game, like as if I'm playing Apex or something. Yeah, everybody else are into Apex these days. Oh shit. I actually unplugged my hard drive and I need to replug my keyboard. I think I need to get a USB hub with more slots soon. There you go. Come on. Oh, there goes my mouse and my drive. I'm using my phone as my webcam. Okay. Have you done this kind of string runs that they do in disco and some old J-pop songs? How are they written, if I may ask? Okay. String runs. Like very fast runs, you mean? Actually, I haven't done a lot of those, like very, very upbeat string arrangements. Okay, how do I? Okay, okay, camera, please be nice with me. Okay. I'm sorry. Nah. Okay, there you go. I haven't gotten any chance to like dive into that genre, but in terms of pop arrangements, they're mostly like legato lines and not like very quick string lines and stuff. But I think it would be really interesting to go into that realm, you know? I would love to. Favorite Keyscape preset? This is definitely my favorite. The pianos, the acoustic piano. It's called the Natural C7. But what I don't like with Keyscape is that they tend to clip easily. Like it's barely even touching. I mean, you cannot. I barely have the red here, the red clipping. It's already like cracking. That's one of my favorite, and also one electric piano sound called the Vintage Vibe. It's so clean. That's my most favorite electric piano in here, and also this is my second favorite, which is called the LA Custom. I think alternating LR sound felt like ASMR. True. This is more pronounced in the mid range. How do I stick this thing? Or should I might as well do like this. It's all clean and got that clicky sound that sounds so nice. Yes, if you see here, there's a mechanical parameter. If I exaggerate it, you can actually. And if you turn the Rhodes sound all the way down, you actually get to hear how the Rhodes would sound and right in front of you. Was that the lick without the last two note at the end? I even don't remember what I played. Sorry. Impromptu Rhodes solo. Yeah, I love the sounds in here so much. Me so much he forgot the stream title. It's you who asks for me. It's you who asks like what my Keyscape favorite patch is. Yeah. Wait, don't keys have strings in them? Oh yeah, you're not wrong. We're talking about strings, so pianos has. I mean, electric pianos doesn't have strings. They use tines. But yeah, we touched a little bit on the pianos, which is also a string family. It's actually a great area where, in terms of what do you want to put, where do you want to put the piano to. I don't really know if it falls into the percussion category or the strings category, or keyboards category, because I almost never hear a keyboard family in the orchestra, because like the Celesta, Glockenspiel, marimba, although having the keyboard layout, they're considered percussion, chromatic percussion. Add a string layer to the keys. Okay, I'll try. I think I'm gonna use the internal sounds here. Give me a minute. Is it on? If we turn on local control here. Okay, I haven't. Yeah, maybe you should hear there's a doubling there on the sound, but I cannot hear it myself. Okay, let's turn it into a piano and strings layer. So it sounds like churchy, you know? Okay, I think we got something here. Okay, that sounds so peaceful. Filter sweeps are always nice. Thank you, whoever's donating. Makamita Jazz Strings Jazz version. Like now? That's a pad. nakamitay. Oh, thank you, donasinya. Okay, I think I'm gonna play one last preset and then call it a night. Kameranya apa tuh, ada kotak di mukanya gitu. Kayaknya gue mesti bikin FAQ deh setiap stream. Gue pakai kamera HP, ada auto face detection ya. So like, I think I'm gonna make a FAQ next time. Like, whenever people ask me why I have a square in my camera, it's because I have an autofocus. I'm using a phone for this. I really love this preset. I think there's a duo patch. I think it's in the hybrid pianos. Playing with the filters cut off. Well, this one actually sustains a little too long. Get Open Start yang versi jazz lo yang compose juga. Ya, kalau yang lo denger di streamnya Rene ya iya itu gue yang main. Thank you for watching. Cytochrome C. This Farhan dia ternyata udah akal sama Ibero. Well, I write stuff for the rabbit hole, so whether I want it or not, I have to be in the rabbit hole, because at some point I have to work there. gonna play that. Udah malam. Thank you for watching. I hope the stream was informative to you guys. Yeah, like I said, I'm going to archive the stream. Thanks internet, now you can enjoy quality stuffs in your bed for free. I kinda want a tebak melody quiz from Farhan playing it in jazz style. No, bang, kalau ibarat dari nikahan sejam berapa? Aduh, sebenarnya ultimate goal gue adalah main dangdut. Kayak gue ngeliat organ tunggal gitu, kayak waduh seru juga ya main dangdut gitu ya. Kayaknya kalau gue udah ada keyboard yang bisa dangdutan, keyboard ini nggak bisa dangdutan sayangnya, gue bakal bikin kayak stream tapi kayak main dangdut gitu. Yamaha PSR. Farhan, you rocked it. Thanks for the stream. Thank you. Thanks for watching, guys. Iya, serius. Gua pengen main dangdut kayak apa ya? Sebelum gua mati kayak gue pengen main dangdut gitu, kayak main di gig dangdut. Kayaknya seru gitu di nikahan orang. Just for fun aja sih. Sekarang baru PSR SX ya? Iya. Tapi kayaknya gue lebih tertarik beli Clavinova deh. Yang ada apa sih stylenya gitu. Oke deh. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next one. And yeah, it's been a pleasure to talk with you guys about music. And hopefully I can do something like this more, even better. Thanks for those who actually donated. I think I have to read that before I end the stream. Okay, this damn mouse isn't really cooperative with me right now, but I'm going to read the donations. Ada dari Ito. Thank you for the tips on arranging strings. Great stream. Ditunggu karya selanjutnya. Thank you Ito. And from Shikari Nagasa ya. Thanks for Bakamitai. Thank you so much for the donation, Shikari Nagasa. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Okay, I think that's all. See you guys on the next one, and stay safe wherever you are. Okay, bye bye.
Namun di saat banyaknya suara, manakah yang ku harus dengar? Mencoba mendengarkan suara di dalam hati. Inilah diri yang ingin ku selalu tunjukkan. Berbagai suara yang berpadu dan menjadi satu identity. Namun di saat